Everybody, welcome back to the Forever Mighty post-game show. Summer updates, news on Kesler, coaching changes, all kinds of good stuff, my friend. Eddie, how you doing, man?
Good. Nice to finally get back, I guess. I mean, we said that last time with the last show, but there's actually news. We thought it was going to be a boring summer, nothing was going to happen, and then things start pouring out. You know, like you said, some extensions with the coaches, some interesting news on Ryan Kesler. I mean, a lot more, I guess, than we expected.
Yeah, no, and it's a lot of, if you go across the internet, just a lot of people freaking out about the whole Ryan Kesler. So it'll be interesting your kind of take on what you think about it and how the Ducks could possibly move forward. Obviously, we'll look at options, but how about the Stanley Cup final, huh?
Jeez. Well, I mean, for one, for Vegas to actually still be here is ridiculous. And then for them also to be leading 1-0 in the series and doing so pretty easily, I mean, it just adds to the craziness of this run so far by them. And then the fact that they could still get better next year with some additions because their cap space is just ridiculous. I don't know. I'm rooting for Ovi, honestly, but I guess it's a nice secondary option if Vegas wins it because it's not like we're having a team who's already won the cup winning it again. So I guess it's a win-win no matter who wins.
I mean, since you're a Canadian, it's just kind of odd from all the battle years of history with Russians that you would root for Ovi, but I'm with you. I gotta go with that one too. I'd love to see Ovi raise the cup. People are torn, and I kind of was too. Like I figured if the Caps missed the final, then I would Vegas to win it all, just because that's like the greatest story that you could have ever written in sports. And it'd be so good for this league, and people are out here like trashing that idea still, which I find is hilarious. But since Ovi's in there, it's like, no offense to anybody on the Knights. I'm not part of that crowd that thinks you have to earn your due to get your chance. You just make the best of the time that you have when you're there. Yeah. And Ovi has worked so hard and been trashed by so many people and fans and media, whoever you want to talk about, for not having that. So I hope he gets it too. I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah, it would be nice, and just to kind of shut those people up, like you said, because I don't think he needs it to be a great player and considered one of the best goal scorers of all time. But if he gets it, then nobody can say anything anymore, because then he's got the one thing he doesn't have over guys like Sidney Crosby. And so, you know, if he gets that championship, then nobody can say anything. And then he is arguably one of the best goal scorers of all time, which he should be anyway, but it doesn't matter. And then I guess, like we already mentioned, with Vegas, that's not a bad outcome on the other side. I mean, if we had a team like LA in here or somebody else, and we've been saying, okay, you know, if Ovi loses, then we've got this ugly outcome on the other side. But at least with Vegas, it's a good story. One of the best, like you said, championship stories in sports probably ever, other than, you know, I've watched a lot of soccer, so Leicester City winning the championship is a little bit up there for me, because I think in soccer, with the amount of parity that there is, it kind of tops it for me. But this would be up there. I mean, this is an amazing run. The fact that they're still going, and not even the fact that they're still going, but they're making it look so easy. It's just ridiculous. I
mean, I don't know what you can say about soccer. I don't know what team you just mentioned. I'm not familiar with the sport. The only thing I know is they play on a field.
Leicester City and the Puck Suit podcast at all? Like the
references?
I
I don't know, man. I can't get into a sport with an arena the size of the state of North Dakota that they play on, and there's only like 4 shots on goal the whole game. But I don't want to digress down that hole.
We lost 5 listeners right now because you trash talk soccer. Like, there's 5 people out there saying, "Hey, you know what? We're out of here now."
Screw Patrick. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't like soccer. All right, man. Let's hop into the Ducks. Let's crack open this can of Kesler junk that's going around, because everyone seems to be freaking out about something that I feel like personally we've known for a while. I'm sure there's possibility, but why don't you tell everybody where the rumor first started?
Yeah. Should we get to the intro, though?
Dude, I did that one not on purpose. Yes, kick the intro and then kick me. I can't go this long between shows.
Yeah, it's too much. All right, let's go off the intro.
Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner. Gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani. Around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with
I think for next year we can just set up like a board on how many times we end up playing the intro too late into the show. I mean, to be fair, you get the hard job. You have to set up the show every time and set up the intro. I end up getting the easy job, just kind of riding in the sidecar. But I think we do need a running total next year. We can have some people bet on the over-under on how many times we're going to get past the intro.
I mean, I only have it in 24-point bold font on my screen in front of me to remind me not to skip it, and I literally read right under it rather than reading it. So, yeah, man, I got some problems. But, and in all fairness, my other show is not live. So, like, if I did that, I could just go back. This is kind of like too little too late. But with Ryan Kesler, news comes out, possibly out indefinitely, possibly ready for training camp, possibly not playing at all next season. That's news to me. But why don't you let everyone know where this kind of came around to?
Yeah, so I'll read so bear with me. I'm going to read the entire little outlet that Elliot Friedman had in 31 Thoughts here. But he had put it out in his last column, which I think was about 5 days ago. So this is what it said. It said, we probably won't know the truth until training camp, but there's a chance Ryan Kesler does not play in 2018-2019. Anaheim center gutted through 48 regular season games and playoff games. His discomfort and pain obvious to teammates and opponents alike. From what I understand, he will not be having surgery. That's already been done. Instead, he's undergoing some aggressive rehab and treatment in an effort to improve the hip area. The team and agent are not commenting, but word is he's not interested in retiring, wants to play, and is doing everything he can to get there. But it might be a situation where he sits out and tries to come back in September 2019. I mean, this is worrying because we had heard nothing up until this point. We kind of just assumed that Kesler was going to take the whole off-season off, just focus on the rehab, which, I mean, aggressive rehab isn't a surprise. I kind of expected that to happen. But we all assumed he'd be ready to go 100% and close to the player that he was. Maybe not the exact same, but at least somewhat close. Better than he was this season. And now all of a sudden this comes out from a pretty reliable source in Elliot Friedman, and it reignites the fire in Ducks Twitter, and everybody panics.
I mean, but it's no guarantee either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not saying it's done. From all accounts, we all knew that Kesler was going through extensive treatment. The worrying part from this whole article to me is exactly what you just said. It comes from a very reliable source who doesn't just speak on a whim. I mean, Friedman's connected and hears things internally. He's probably like one of the biggest people right next to Bob McKenzie, wouldn't you say, when it comes to breaking news or any sort of insider information. So it just kind of it is concerning to even think about that having to happen to the Ducks. But I mean, I love Ryan Kesler as a player. I like his style of play, but he wasn't that guy last year for obvious reasons. I mean, nothing that he could do about it. He was in extreme pain, had a major surgery, learning how to skate and walk correctly again. It's not something you recover from within a month. But I mean, we got how many months until training camp? You're looking at 5 months that he has, and he's already been off for a month, maybe 6 months.
About 4 months until training camp, and about 5 months, I believe, until the start of the regular season. So he's got time, but like this is just from when I'm looking at it. Like I feel like people are thrown off by the words retirement and then not playing for next season. But when you read through it, it's almost like he's just kind of speculating. Like those are Elliot Friedman's thoughts on the situation. It's not like he was getting it from a source that he's not going to play. He said it might be a situation where he sits out and tries to come back, or he's not considering retiring. I mean, I could go and say Sidney Crosby's not considering retiring, and somebody's going to take it the other way and say, "Oh, Sidney Crosby's retiring." I mean, somebody's going to take it that way. I think he's just saying that that's just not an option for Kesler. I don't think it means it's gotten to that point. Obviously, the rehab hasn't gone the way they've expected, but I think it got blown way out of proportion from maybe what he meant. But it still isn't a good sign. I mean, we all hope that he would be back and be a big part of this team. I mean, the window's closing. If the Ducks are going to make another run at least getting far in the playoffs, Kessler's going to be a big part of that. And the fact that he might not even play next season is it's worrying. And I understand the stress coming out of a lot of the fans.
Yeah, but I think it's exactly what you said. It's a rumor. I mean, or maybe it was like mentioned, like that's a possibility that they were talked about. It's a possibility it's going to take longer. So let's flip this on its head and let's talk about it as if it is going to happen. And this is a stretch. I mean, obviously, you and I don't have any inside information. We're just kind of breaking this down as if this is going to be the scenario that the Ducks are going to be dealing with this summer.
You've got Bob Murray, it's like cell phone number in your back pocket from meeting him at Starbucks. Like, come on, you're telling me you don't have any sources into this information? You can't do a little bit of legwork and get us some background information?
He would just say lower body injury, and they're working on it. That's all he would tell me.
True.
You know, they don't want to get specific, even though the specifics are out there. Bob hasn't called me in a couple of months, so
you gotta meet him up for another date at Starbucks.
I got to hit him on Thursday, man. Tomorrow's the day. I'll be there in the morning, Bob. I know he's listening right now, too. He always tries to get inside info from us, what we know about the rest of the league. So Kesler is entering the third year of his 6-year deal with the Ducks, and he's got $6.875 million in cap space, a full no-move clause, a modified no-trade, but not to the last season, which is 21-22. If he comes off the books, it doesn't come off entirely, right? LTIR is going to probably take half or around half, from my understanding.
I know there's like a 35 and over rule where like it doesn't get covered. And I don't know how in depth this feature is on cap friendly, but if you run
so that's with buyout.
Yeah,
with a buyout, if you buy out a guy's contract, when everyone was like complaining, myself included, about getting rid of Kevin Bieksa. Like if you bought him out or something like that, the cap hit is still there, but the financial part of it, the money side of it, goes away.
I think with the long-term injury,
I think that's what that works. I could be wrong.
Completely covered. I think because I know like guys like David Clarkson and Joffrey Lupul and Nathan Horton, like they had some big salaries, but they got completely covered because they're on the long-term injured reserve. So I feel like if Ryan Kesler gets put on the LTIR, that the whole thing gets covered, obviously, until he comes back. Because the Ducks, I believe the Ducks got all of Patrick Eves' salary off the books when he was on the long-term injured reserve. I mean, it's hard for me to go back and double-check that, but I believe that's the case unless a guy is 35 and over, and then there's a certain rule about putting them on the long-term injured reserve after that point and how much salary can actually be taken off the cap hit. I think the only way they escape his entire salary right now, for sure, is if he was to retire. But of course we don't.
Or somehow if they trade him, but they can't, he's got a no move clause. So
yeah,
who in the Ducks pool of players would you say coming up or currently in the lineup would be able to slot in and take his spot then?
Well, I mean the obvious one is Adam Henrique. Probably just slots up to second line center. And whether he goes right in there with Cogliano and Silverberg or they mix the lines up, that remains to be seen. But I think he's the guy that easily fits into second line center. And then it all depends on, I guess, from there what you do with third line center, because there's a couple guys coming up next year in Troy Terry, who is a center by trade, might be a winger in the NHL, but he's a guy you could try at third line center. I think the best option would hope that Sam Steele impresses in camp and can come in and step in at third line center. I mean, we were talking about him playing fourth line if he was going to play enough minutes, and now this opportunity per se opens up where he could get some third line minutes with maybe a guy like Andre Kasher or Corey Perry or Andrew Cogliano, or at least some capable players on his wing, and he might get a very good shot out of camp. It all depends. I mean, this is all speculation, but those, looking at the inside, those are a couple options I think that the Ducks could easily go to without moving the needle too much.
I mean, would you want to see Raquel go back to center?
You could, but I mean, I feel like that ship has kind of sailed. But you never know. I mean, he's kind of gone back and forth there until really this season, where he was a staple on the left wing with Ryan Getzlaf, and that didn't change. And then, of course, bringing in Adam Henrique and then having Ryan Kesler and Ryan Getzlaf, there was really no need to move him to center. That option maybe is still available, but he's looked pretty good on the wing. Why fix what's not broken? I mean, yeah, he